Alright, there's a couple things I wanted to show you related to JavaScript that are easier to demonstrate than perhaps they are to write down. So first thing I want to do is show you how to do some JavaScript in Notepad. So if I open up a document and I save it, in this case I am going to save my document into Dropbox, public, so that I can get a publicly accessible URL, homework 3, JavaScript testing, and I will call this in quotes test3.html. And I hit save. I could call it anything.html. Now let me write up a quick little document, HTML and HTML. Actually, let me fix the font on here and make it a little bit bigger for you. So let's make it like 20. There we go. Hopefully that's a little clearer. Now I could put my HTML in the head or in the my JavaScript in the head or in the body tags. It's not going to matter. So I'm going to add in this tag here that says script, end script, and then do a command called alert. Hello. This alert command is built into the JavaScript language, and if I go then into my file browser and I double click on this, you can see what happens. A pop-up box that says hello comes up on it, so that's what the alert box does. Another way that I could look at this file, since it's in my public folder, I can right click on there and get the public link, and the way that I'm looking at it right now in a browser, only I can see it. If I get a public link and I paste it in there, then everybody in the world can get at that link if I distribute it to them. So that's important. Sometimes it's better to use a public URL, and sometimes it's better to use a private URL that only you can see. There's different reasons for different things. I won't go into that just yet. On a side note, I wanted to mention that you can download other applications that are better for viewing HTML and JavaScript in. This is a program called Notepad++, and one of the nice things about this program is that when you are using it, it color codes a lot of things. So I can write in here in the body tag, here is some text, and if I were to do something like a link, href equals, and notice how the colors are changing as I type. And if I were to make a mistake, like not finish my link or something like then it's not the right color and it looks weird. So it is kind of nice. Oops, got that wrong. It is kind of nice to use a text editor like this sometimes. And let's just see if that actually worked like we expected it to. There we go. I got my pop-up. I've got a link. So all working like it's supposed to. All right, let me talk to you a little bit more about JavaScript. As you'll read in your studies, that you can, in front of any JavaScript command, you can put 2 forward slashes. That's one way to comment out something if you want to keep it there but not actually have it run in the page. Another thing I'd like to show you is writing your own function. If you write a function like say hi, you would write it like that, and you could then put in another function that's built in inside of there. Hello from say hi, and if I hit save and reload my page, nothing's happening yet. Let me go debug. Oh, I see what I did. The thing I didn't do is I actually didn't call my function, so I created it, but let me say hi, and then I will save, go out to my public Dropbox and hit refresh. Now it says hello from say hi. I could also create a function that does some calculation or math. Like I could say function divide me, and I could say pass in x and y, just made up variables. And what I will do is I will have it return x divided by y, and then if I were to use it, I could say divide me, and then say like 12 and 4, and I need some place to put that, so I'll just make up some letter. I mean, I could put in any word I want, but like C equals that, and then I will say alert C, and that'll do a pop-up with that answer in there. So if I go out to my web page and hit refresh, it's a hello from Say Hi, and then, oh, not a number, I've done something wrong. Oh, I'm such a dope. I was in such a hurry to type, I didn't write it in correctly. So if I do 12 comma 4, so it's actually passing in 2 different parameters. This is what programming's all about. So now it says 3, which is what we were expecting. All right, so that covers just some basic stuff about writing JavaScript in Notepad or in Notepad++. Now let's talk about the DOM. One thing you read about is that every HTML page is thought of like a tree, where you have a document as the highest level thing, and then underneath it there's a head and a body, and then underneath the body there's a whole bunch of different elements that might be in there. And using JavaScript, you can traverse through the tree, or you can go directly to something in there. So what we have right here is a little snippet of an HTML document, and you see HTML is at the highest level, and then there's a head and a title, so you can consider these things to be nested. And then you have a body tag, and in the body tag you have a div tag, you have a unordered list, UL, and then list items within that. And if I were to look at a visual representation of something like this, it would be like this. And so what I'm trying to say then is that JavaScript can give you the ability to access any of the items that are within this tree. And there's a bunch of different ways that it can access it. You can say, you know, give me all of the div tags in the body, and it will send you back an array of all of the div tags. Or you maybe want to say, send me the very first one, and it could look at it that way. Or you could say, give me one with a specific name. Now, if I recall correctly, back when I first started programming HTML, we didn't used to have ID tag or ID attributes that were part of HTML tags, but now we do. And so now, rather than, well, I'll give you some background info, that it used to be that when you wanted to use JavaScript to look at something in the page, that you had to say, well, give me, you know, the first, everything was treated like an array, like give me the first div tag that's on there, and then the first unordered list that's on there, and then look, give me the first whatever. Anyway, everything was kind of complicated. But now you can go directly to something in the page if it has an ID attribute associated with it, which is kind of nice. You can say go to any HTML tag on the page as long as it has an ID attribute, and you can say, and you can directly tell it to either using JavaScript to read the HTML that's in there, or you can directly tell it to change the HTML that's in that thing. And that's how you can get something that looks dynamic, that changes on the fly. Is because you can use JavaScript to change both groups of tags and also individual tags. Okay, another thing I wanted to discuss is the JavaScript Debugger. So here is the page that we were looking at a minute ago, and if I were to hit F12, then at the bottom of the page this little console pops up, and there are different things on here that help me know all kinds of interesting things about pages that I might be working on. You might want to play with that at some point. You can collapse and expand things in a page that you're viewing on the internet. The console can be used to look at things related to JavaScript. So if I were to go back to my JavaScript page, and something I could do is, well, I'll do some things that I haven't tried, something I haven't tried before, and see what happens. So I'll take off this semicolon to see if I can create an error, and I will reload the page, and let's see what will happen. Okay. Well, it looks like nothing interesting happened. It was smart enough to not have an error. Since skipping a semicolon wasn't enough, I just took off one of the parentheses too, and then I hit reload, and what happened is down here, when I reload the page, it says uncaught syntax error, unexpected identifier on line 15. So if I'm in my document, well, I don't know why it says the error is on line 15. Sometimes it can be a little bit more specific and correct about where it's finding things. But the JavaScript debugger is going to be very useful in finding out where there are errors in a page when there are errors. So sometimes nothing will execute that's JavaScript, and it's because some error has happened. And usually then you can just pop open the JavaScript debugger by hitting F12, and you'll see exactly what the issue is. You can also, if you're playing, you can, instead of doing alert and having those pop-up boxes, you can do console.log, hello from log, and you can write to that instead. And I still got my error. Let's see what's going to happen in here. Alright, well, it still is very unhappy. So let's say I fix that and see if it will do what else I was hoping for. Okay, now it wasn't going to write to my log until I got that JavaScript error fixed. But now it says hello from log in there, and it tells me that it happened on line 7 of this particular file, and in fact that is where it happens.